Let's talk about Teams. So another session from Let's Talk About Teams. And this time we have a great guy on board. Tom, could you tell a bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I've been watching it for a while, so it's nice to be on. So Tom Arbuthnot, we were just talking off camera about my history. I used to be in the Cisco space way back doing call manager, but since about Link 2010, I've been in the Microsoft space, mostly enterprise focused. These days, I run Empowering Cloud, which is a kind of community first project around Teams and M365. We have subject matter expert sessions, we have podcasts, we have newsletter, but the whole idea is just to educate people, really.
Awesome.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on.
And yeah, Tom, it's not a secret. I mean, you have a big knowledge about Teams Phone, and I mean, so that's what we are thinking about. That we need to talk and see what's coming up and so on about. And I guess nobody has missed that Microsoft are coming out with this new app, Call Queue app, where we begin to be able to see some statistics and some more contact center lookalike functions. What are your take on that Microsoft will begin, doing applications?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Teams Phone is kind of, it's getting hot again in terms of interest. And we just got Microsoft's quarterly earnings as we record, and they said it's now 20 million active Teams Phone users, which is
crazy.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's 30% up year on year. So that's a real heavy growth trajectory. Also 1 million Teams rooms, and that's another session. But you can see the strength of Teams at the moment. Phone is interesting because I think it's no secret, right? People are using phone less than they used to, particularly knowledge workers. But where it's interesting is Microsoft are adding innovations like the voice isolation, like the other capabilities. And Q's app, you said there, Carsten, is a big one. That is Microsoft kind of stepping into the contact center light. They won't say that. They'll say, customer interaction, because Dynamics own contact center. But essentially, it's kind of those more advanced queuing and routing scenarios and customer interactions.
But how many companies would they convince to go this route? Is it small companies, larger companies? Would it take a big amount of the current contact centers out there with just releasing this Call Queue app, or is it
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, contact center is a really interesting space because it's very competitive. So there's not one vendor that kind of absolutely dominates. But also, when we say contact center or call center, it means different things to different people. It can be literally thousands of agents doing outbound. It could be, like a big retailer's support desk. It could be internal. I think where Microsoft are aiming the Q's app is at the smaller end of that scale. It's IT help desk, it's HR help desk, it's bigger companies that have an internal use case, or it's very small companies that have an external facing use case but don't have lots of full-time contact center agents. They are people who are answering calls and doing advanced routing, but they're not a full-time agent, I would say, is the demark.
But still, they will probably be competitive in this price range of a normal contact center and this, right?
Yeah.
I think that we will see a lot of those small or medium-sized companies that ask for would never go out and buy a full-blown contact solution. So I see it also fill out a space where they'll say, okay, we will not use that functionality. I don't know if you see the same, Tom, but that's,
I mean, I definitely have customers that push call queues and auto attendance to a sort of extreme. And like you say, they're not prepared. Some of those contact centers are $100, $150 a seat, but they just want a little bit more. I think it does start to step on the toes of some of the ecosystem providers, because there's some very good providers. But there's an important distinction. Microsoft are only going to do so much in the box. There's still opportunity for, particularly the Extend, the Landis, the 10.4, the Luware type solutions, and there's many others where they're doing third-party Sierra integration, they're doing AI, they're doing omni-channel. So yeah, when you work with Microsoft, and we were talking about this before the show, when you work with Microsoft, they're always pushing the boundary forward of what they can do in the box. So you as a provider have to continue to add value beyond that. And this is another one of those cases, I think.
Especially historic data. I mean, when we see what Microsoft is saving compared to some of the other one, where we have 2 or 5 years storing of data, that will never happen unless you do something yourself. So, I mean, I don't think it will take the space for it, but I think it will take some of the contact center or small cold queue solutions we have.
It also might have a positive effect on the market in the sense of a lot of people who are voice people don't think of Teams in the context of contact center at all. So they'll be like, okay, it's a phone system, but it's not contact center. But if they're like, oh, it does have some advanced capabilities, maybe I can do some use cases with it. And for some, I need to step up to an integrated third party. So it definitely encourages the conversation when you're deploying Teams to say it's not just basic phone functionality, is much more advanced.
And one important thing here is also the cost. I mean, I think we should just talk 2 seconds about that, because it will not be free of charge. Of course, it will not. I mean, it's an add-on service, and I don't know, Tom, if you can correct me if you've heard anything else, but the last thing I've heard is that it's a premium license that you need to activate that call queue app. You don't have to. You don't need to have the premium for being an agent, but for being able to use that application, you need the premium Teams premium license.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, you'll need that premium add-on to be a user, and you also need the phone license as well. So you have to be a phone user, and have that premium on top. So yeah, that's. I mean, it's still amazing value for the functionality if you compare it to the kind of the open market. But yes, you do need that add-on.
Yeah, and it's just a funny license. Go ahead, Lars.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering. I mean, we talked about the Qs app. So how much can you actually do in the Qs app?
So natively, without the Queues app, I guess first of all, you've already got auto attendance and call queues in Teams, so you can do quite a lot of routing. What you lack is kind of manageability and visibility. What the Queues app is adding is more control, but also from a supervisor point of view, more understanding what's going on, more reporting, more manageability. So the Queues app is kind of stepping you up to where you have a supervisor and agents, that not the terminology they use, but that kind of scenario. That's where Queues app comes in and adds quite a lot of value.
And
so the normal users would not be using the Queues app. This is more the manager side of it.
Yeah, do you want to go, Carsten?
Yeah. It depends, because you can both use for seeing who's online and so on. So it's both built up for a Teams manager, but it's also for the agent. If you want a little more advanced agent where you can see some stuff, what's going on with the different ones, which calls are coming in, handling time and so on. So yeah, it is statistics, but it's still based both on an Teams administrator and not a Teams administrator, sorry, for a call queue administrator, and then for an agent itself. And it's kind of funny, because a lot of us that have our day-to-day in Teams Admin Center under voice, we will remember that there was this preview policy where we could set up everything about signing in agents and changing scheduling and all that stuff. And that's some of the stuff that are coming to that call queue. It's removed from the Teams Admin Center now. I don't know, Tom, if you also got a lot of questions from customer about, hey, when can we test that? And we have all those functionality in the Admin Center. I think that was kind of a block from Microsoft that they pushed that out. So
yeah, sometimes when they're testing things, they can't have granular control over what goes out. You see it in PowerShell quite a lot. If you pay careful attention as well, things will hit PowerShell early. So yeah, I think it was like a bit of a early pre-announcement as to what they were intending to do there.
Yeah. But for me, it's I kind of, if I was about to make a cold route and everything, I would love to have an AI on top of that in the admin center. So some of that is on my bucket list. I want to have that in the future. But another thing is, as we're talking about Teams phone calling, etc. In the Nordics, we don't have that many companies who is onto this together with Microsoft. How do you see that we are for the future, with Microsoft opening up for more ISPs or whoever's out there?
What for phone connectivity? Yeah. So we monitor that really carefully in Power and Cloud. We actually have a Power BI report where we keep up to it. So currently there are 95 Operator Connect providers, and they're adding one every kind of few weeks at the moment. But you've also got direct routing, so any provider can set up and provide connectivity. So I think it's rare now I work with an operator that doesn't have an option, either Operator Connect or direct routing, because it's a direction of travel for a lot of companies. So I think the operators have to have an option these days.
Would we see for the future more people doing the voice, etc., being in-house with the companies? Then they do all the programming themselves.
Don't tell Carsten; he's got a job to do.
Yeah, I know, but how is the future going to look? It's going to be easy for the company itself. Or?
It is getting a lot easier. I think anybody who's in the space will tell you. It used to be really complicated, and it's because it's cloud to cloud now. There's still like a 5%, or depending on how big the organization is, of porting, of local carrier connectivity. Like there is a long tail, SIP analog. There's lots to do that is complicated, but for your typical knowledge worker now, it's not as complicated as it used to be. So I think it's going to be a lot of IT people will do the core stuff. I mean, Carsten, you're at the coalface on this. Do you see that as true or not?
I mean, everything is so easy now setting up, and if you just have a regular office with office workers and so on, no specialized, it doesn't take any time. I shouldn't put hours on it because that will kind of break some business for people. But I mean, we are down to 10% compared to a old Skype for business solution.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that really adds up and complexity is like doorbells. If we have some video cameras, if we have some fax machines that we need to route, of course, that's not supported in Teams, and all those application that we don't really think about is phone connected modems and so on, and actually people are still using modem those days in production sites and so on, emergency phones and all that stuff that put kind of some complexity, but other than that it's just next and away we go.
I think in-house for a large percentage of it, and then bringing in third-party experts for the more complex stuff.
Yeah. And we can see it's becoming even more simple with the Teams Phone Mobile. I know you've been working with some of them, Tom. I saw your session a year ago, and we were chatting little, and I've tested with Telia and so on, and where you integrate your mobile phone even closer into Teams. I mean, so you don't even have to think about your mobile devices anymore.
I think that's going to be I'm surprised the adoption of that's been quite slow. I think mainly it's because it's commercial issues and sales issues, but I think inevitably all the operators will offer that, and it won't just be Microsoft. It'll be you buy your mobile.
We see that one. We actually see the biggest problem is that the operator don't want that because it's kind of capitalizing on their own main business mobile phones. So I mean, they're not fond of that idea to lose control of their main market.
Yeah, I thought there'd be mobile operators who'd be happy to take the market share. And now, interestingly, AT&T are going to offer it for no additional cost on their business plans. So that
was really surprised.
That's a big move because that basically means they're giving the SIP connectivity, and also a lot of their business plans have inclusive minutes. So it's not even costing you per minute. So you're basically getting SIP fixed line, whatever we want to call it these days, for free because you bought a business mobile, which is interesting.
But it's market share.
Well, yeah. And we know how mobile goes. If you look at the history of mobile, everything is a bolt-on. Everything is money extra to start on. We used to pay in the UK 12 pence a message for text messages, and eventually it was a bundle, then it was just included, and it will be the same with Teams Phone Mobile and Cisco's equivalent, and eventually I think Zoom will have an equivalent. It will just be you buy your mobile and you say which UCAS are you using, okay, we'll back channel connect to it.
Quite interesting, I would say, and it's kind of fun that we guys like you, Carsten and Tom, you are evangelizing stuff that will then make you less money in the future.
Well, you've got to look after the customers, right? That's the only smart thing to do in the long term. So there's no point hiding what's going on in the space, and there's always work to be done for people that are happy to help customers. So I think, it's funny sometimes when you're doing yourself out of work. Talking about projects, we used to do 2-month design for global, multi tens of thousand customers for Skype deployment. It would be big documents. I'm not sure if anybody ever read about the pools and the infrastructure, but that's just not where we live anymore.
Oh. Great. We are running close to the 15 minutes mark, so I think we should wrap it up here. Thanks so much for joining, Tom. It was great to have you on board.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. It was great to chat.
Thank you, Tom.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for watching. Let's talk about Teams. We hope you enjoyed. We definitely do. And thank you so much, Tom, for joining us this time. See you out there. Bye.